The sleek queen thought she had it all figured out. The beauty who turned heads wherever she walked. The girl who commanded respect and admiration across Abuja Metropolitan University believed she had struck gold. She had married Chief Maduka, a man old enough to be her grandfather, thinking he was going to die so she could inherit all his properties. But what she didn't know was that Chief Maduka was a cat with 9 lives. What he did to her would leave you speechless. It was 7 p.m. on a Tuesday evening. Amora lay weak on her bed. Having been discharged from the hospital that morning after another mysterious illness, the house was unusually quiet. Chief had given all the servants the day off, claiming they deserved the holiday. Strange voices jolted her awake, chanting incantations, multiple voices speaking in a language that seemed to come from the depths of hell itself. Amora fluttered open her eyes, and what she saw made her blood freeze in her veins. Chief Maduka stood beside her bed dressed in flowing red and black robes. Around him stood 5 other elderly men, each holding ornate calabashes, their voices rising and falling in an ancient rhythm. Candles flickered everywhere, casting dancing shadows on the bedroom walls. They were performing rituals over her body as she lay on the bed. "The sacrifice is ready," Chief Maduka's voice cut through the chanting like a blade. "Now it's your turn. Great spirits, accept this offering in exchange for continued youth and prosperity." The terrible truth crashed over Amora like a tsunami. She was the sacrifice. She was the offering that had been prolonging Chief's life all along. Amora tried to scream, but no sound came out. She tried to move, but her body wouldn't respond. An invisible hand began choking her, squeezing the life from her throat. Her vision blurred as the life slipped out of her. Chief Maduka and his friends laughed sinisterly, watching as she gasped for air, her legs and hands convulsing, thrashing helplessly on the bed. "Jesus, help me," Amora managed to whisper with her last breath. "God, if you can save me, I will serve you for the rest of my life." Her eyes rolled to the back of her head, and everything went black. But how did a beautiful, intelligent girl from the slums of Abuja end up as prey to one of the most dangerous men in Nigeria? To understand this shocking story, we must go back to the very beginning. 15 years earlier, in the crowded slums of Nyanya, 7-year-old Amora pressed her face against the grimy window of their 1-bedroom apartment. Outside, children from the big houses played with toys that cost more than her father made in a month. "Come and eat," her mother called from the tiny kitchen area. The little girl turned away from the window with a heavy sigh. In the cramped room, her parents and 5 younger siblings were gathered around a pot of watery soup. Amora watched as her mother, Mama Amora, carefully ladled the thin liquid into old plastic bowls. What she didn't see was her father quietly pushing his portion toward the children when he thought no one was looking. "Mama, why is our soup so watery?" asked 4-year-old Tond. "It's good for you, my child. Plenty of water helps you grow strong," Mama Amora replied with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Even at 7, Amora understood that their soup was watery because there wasn't enough food to go around. She had heard her parents whispering late at night, discussing which bills to pay and which to postpone. Her father worked as a local drummer at traditional ceremonies, earning barely enough to keep them alive. Her mother sold small items, pure water, biscuits, sweets, just a few houses away, making pittance that barely covered their daily bread. One evening, as they sat outside their building, Mama Choma, their neighbor, pointed at a luxurious black SUV slowly passing their street. "Oh, that woman just returned from Dubai. She's so rich. I heard she controls her husband's wealth and properties. They have houses all over Abuja, even overseas." Little Amora turned to her mother with innocent curiosity. "Mama, why didn't you marry a rich man like that woman?" The question hit the evening air like a thunderclap. Mama Amora's eyes widened in shock, and the neighbors burst into barely contained laughter. "You must never talk like that again. Your father is a good man. Money is not everything in life." "But Mama, if you were rich, we wouldn't have to pour water in our soup. We could eat meat every day." "My child, you must learn to be content with what you have," Mama Amora said gently. That night, lying on her thin mattress, Amora made a silent vow. "I will never be poor in my life. I will not marry a poor man like Papa." From that day forward, Mama Amora noticed a change in her daughter. There was something harder in Amora's eyes, something that worried a mother's heart. Mama, I can never be poor in this life, 10-year-old Amora declared one evening. I will never marry a poor man like Papa. I will marry a rich man and live like a queen. Years passed, and little Amora grew into a stunning young woman. By 18, she had become the pride of her parents, the envy of other girls, and the object of admiration for men far and wide. Her skin was smooth like polished ebony. Her body had curves in all the right places, and she carried herself with confidence that made people believe she came from wealth. Any man would be lucky to have you, her mother would say with pride. But Amora had other plans. She told herself she was made for more. When young men from the neighborhood came asking for her hand, her answer was always the same: no, it's either I marry a rich man or I remain single forever. When she gained admission to Abuja Metropolitan University, her parents struggled desperately to pay her fees. Papa Amora took on extra drumming gigs, while Mama Amora expanded her small business, staying out later to catch the evening rush. We will do whatever it takes to give you an education, her father said, counting out wrinkled naira notes. Amora thanked her parents, but in her heart she had different plans. She told herself she was not going to leave university the same way she entered. She was going to graduate with 3 things: a degree, a husband, and a child. But not just any husband, a rich husband. The first thing she did on campus was visit the second-hand clothes market in Wuse. She carefully selected the best items she could afford, choosing pieces that looked expensive. She watched YouTube videos on styling, learning to mix and match her limited wardrobe. Every morning, she transformed herself. She styled her hair differently, applied makeup skillfully, and dressed like the daughter of a wealthy businessman. "You look so fine," her roommate, Kemi, would say. "Where do you get money for all these clothes?" "If you know how to style yourself, you don't need plenty of money," Amora replied. Her transformation worked. Within weeks, she was attracting attention from students who came from wealthy homes. They invited her to parties, included her in exclusive circles, and treated her like one of their own. Her parents continued to sacrifice everything for her education, eating less so she could have money for books and wearing the same clothes for years to give her a small allowance. During one visit home, Mama Amora noticed the change in her daughter. "You look different. These clothes, this hairstyle. Where are you getting money for all this?" "Mama, I'm just managing the small money you give me," Amora replied. Back on campus, Amora continued her careful ascent into the world of the wealthy. She attended parties in Metoma district, went to expensive restaurants, and mingled with children of politicians and business moguls. It was at one of these parties that she heard about Kola, a final-year student who drove a Toyota Corolla and worked for some big chief. "Tell me more about Kola," her interest immediately piqued. The stage was set for the next chapter of her journey, a journey that would lead her straight into the web of the most dangerous man she would ever meet. Kola was everything she had imagined and more. He was tall, handsome, and carried himself with the confidence of someone who had never known lack. His Toyota Corolla gleamed as he parked outside the faculty building. Amora had strategically positioned herself at the cafeteria where she knew he usually came to eat. She wore her best outfit, a dress that made her look like she had stepped out of a fashion magazine. When Kola walked in, conversation stopped. "Who is that girl?" Kola asked his friend quietly, his eyes fixed on Amora. "Oh, she's very fine. But she's selective. Many guys have tried, but she doesn't give anybody a chance." Kola smiled. He loved the challenge. He walked over to her table with confidence. "Excuse me, beautiful. Can I sit with you?" "I suppose you can," Amora said, letting her fingers linger in his handshake. They talked for over an hour. Kola told her about his final-year studies and, most importantly, his work with a wealthy businessman. "I'm an assistant to a very successful man," Kola explained. "Chief Maduka. He's a billionaire with businesses all over Nigeria and overseas." Her heart skipped a beat. A billionaire. This was even better than she had hoped. Their first date was at a fancy restaurant in Metoma. Kola ordered expensive wine and costly items without blinking. He paid with a stack of crisp Naira notes that made Amora's eyes shine. When he asked her to be his girlfriend 2 weeks later, she accepted immediately. Life with Kola was everything she had dreamed of. He bought her the latest iPhone, expensive jewelry, designer clothes. He took her to exclusive parties where she rubbed shoulders with the wealthy elite. "Baby, I want to take you shopping," Kola would say almost every weekend at Joby Lake Mall, letting her select items worth hundreds of thousands while he paid without complaint. Her appearance on campus changed dramatically. She went from looking good to absolutely stunning. But Kola was involved in activities he never fully explained. "I have to go handle some business for Chief," he would often say. "What kind of business?" she asked. "Just errands. Chief has many interests, and I help him manage them." She never pressed for details. As long as the money kept flowing, she was satisfied. What she didn't know was that Kola's errands often involved things that would have terrified her. But she was too blinded by luxury to ask the right questions. She was also too focused on her ultimate goal to pay attention to warning signs because she hadn't just fallen in love with Kola's lifestyle, she had fallen in love with the idea of meeting his boss. Every time Kola mentioned Chief Maduka, her heart raced with excitement. In the back of her mind, a dangerous thought was forming: what if she could somehow meet this chief? What if she could make him interested in her? After all, why settle for the employee when you could have the boss? The opportunity came sooner than expected. It was a Thursday evening when Kola received an urgent call from Chief Maduka. "Kola, I need you to meet me at the Lagoon restaurant in Metoma and bring that beautiful girlfriend of yours along. I've been curious to meet her." Kola's heart skipped a beat. Chief rarely expressed interest in meeting the girls he dated. "Get dressed quickly," he told her. "Chief wants to meet you." Her pulse quickened. "What should I wear?" "Something elegant but not too flashy. Chief appreciates sophistication." Amora chose a flowing black dress that accentuated her figure perfectly. She looked breathtaking. The Lagoon restaurant was where Abuja's elite gathered. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and soft jazz music filled the air. Chief Maduka was already seated when they arrived. Her breath caught. He was much older than expected, probably in his late 70s. His skin was weathered, and he looked sickly. But there was something commanding about his presence. His clothes were clearly expensive, and the thick gold chain around his neck probably cost more than a house. Most importantly, he looked exactly like what he was, a very wealthy man. See you in the next part.